Welcome back to another episode of FacilitiesU. Here in session 205, this is intended for facilities directors, operational leaders, and public sector executives responsible for capital planning, safety, workforce sustainability, and long-term infrastructure management in public education environments. We are joined by Elliot Echols. He is the Director of Facilities and Operations in the public education sector. Elliot, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, do you mind just a short introduction of yourself for our viewers and listeners who want to get to know you?
Yeah, so I've been in the K-12 space, I would say, almost 15 years now. My experience is in whole building performance, construction design, and operations. It's a personal commitment, and it's a passion. I love what I do, and it's exciting. There's not one day that's the same, so I love it.
That's great to hear. Thank you for sharing that with us. So to jump in, you've led facilities and operations across large public school districts with significant capital responsibility, as you previously mentioned. From your perspective, what are some differences between public education facilities and a private sector environment?
I would say, just thinking about it, it's your customer base, right? Every day, we're responsible for students and staff, right? Parents and us, kids. And our role is to make sure that they're safe all day, right? That from the time they enter our campuses, that space is clean, safe, and accessible. So if I'm in the private sector, it's their main customer base may not be students, right? So in the educational space, I think the big difference is our clientele are students, and how we cater to them is different, and what they need is different, right? And especially in today's climate, where our goal is to cater to the whole student, right? Things have changed in the world and amongst students as well. So their needs are different. And I think that would be the biggest thing, was just who we cater to and how we cater to them.
To piggyback off that, you mentioned, parents and the students. You also have to deal with media. You have to deal with regulators. Yeah. In that type of environment, like, what assumptions tend to fail first? Where would you, someone that is either in your position or strives to be in your position, what are some things that they can look out for? What are some assumptions you may walk into or walk in with that you may have to change once you enter, like, the public sector?
I would say, it all has to deal with where you are, right? Where you are, the expectations, the type of community that you're serving, history. All that couples, all that is a part of what you think. So if you're entering one school district with one experience, that might not be the same experience elsewhere. So I would just say, just in my experience, you want to come in and do a lot of listening versus a lot of talking, right? You want to go in, understand the culture and understand where you could fit in at, and as well as change some things. But at the same time, too, got to watch the speed of change, just make sure that folks are at the table when decisions are being made or thought about changing. It's hard to bring people or convince people of change if they don't know what's happening, or it becomes something that just drops in their lap. So I would say just know where you're at, be a sponge, do more listening than talking, and involve folks early on in new ideas and new programs, etc., where it's possible.
Got it. Yeah. Having worked in the facilities sector myself for almost 15 years, I almost kind of agree with what you mentioned, which was, where we underestimate exposure is quite often in communication and knowledge share, right? So, how do you manage that, and how do you, reinforce communication from your team? And then how do you reinforce that shared knowledge and making sure that everybody understands not just the how, but the why of what you're doing?
You know what? I think it's daily deposits, right? We do so much every day. We have to get it right. I tell my teams all the time, we have a tough job because we have to get it right every day, right? When our staff and students get there, the place has to be right? Yeah. If not, then that changes the whole learning environment changes, right? Yeah. So I think it's the daily deposits, right? I like to tell my teams, let's just stay in it, right? We don't burn ourselves out, but we do like to stay in it, right? We like to meet talk about things every day, kind of stay abreast of things, right? When we open up shop, we say, hey, what's our critical items, right? And at the same time, too, we know that there are going to be some things that we just can't address right away. So you have to prioritize, right? Are there areas or things that are going to stop us from making sure that these campuses run proper, right? And if they do, then we address those things right away. So I would say it's just constant communication, constant follow-up. And at the same time, too, you have to rely on your teams, right? When you're in this role overseeing all this stuff, you cannot be the end-all be-all. And that's why I pride myself on having systems, right? Systems in place that if I'm not there or if someone's not there, we don't just drop the ball completely, right? So we rely on communication, we rely on systems, and, we have things in place that help us out for, lack of better words.
And you mentioned kind of that prioritization of, one of the things that we deal all the time in is repair versus replace, right? And you're constantly dealing with, are we going to Band-Aid this? Are we going to kind of, get this equipment to next year, to next fiscal year? Yeah. And I know funding cycles can be even more strict in public sectors. So how do you manage that? And what risks are most commonly either deferred, or what risks would you advise to someone like, hey, these are non-negotiable? Like, no matter what, we've got to get these things done, whether it's, preventative maintenance on fire systems, whatever it is. Like, what are some things that you just can't kick that can down the road?
But if you think about it, like you just said, fire systems, right? We got to make sure our whole entire job is to make sure, I can't say it enough, that buildings are clean, safe, and accessible. And those are things that, we just cannot do, right? Where there'd be some situations to where we have some comfort calls, right? To where we know some spaces might run a little warm, some spaces might run a little cold, right? We don't consider those to be emergencies, right? But what we do want to do is make sure that we have heat, that we have air, right? That we have proper MEP, right? That we have proper security, right? Because now the whole thing has changed, where when you're doing facilities, you're locked in with IT as well. So I know my campuses are all outfitted with access control. So everything that we have, we did a whole program to kind of rid ourselves of keys, right? So when it comes to safety and security and just making sure that our building is safe and clean and accessible, that's what we prioritize ourselves. So if it comes down to some things that you cannot do, but you cannot, for lack of a better word, cheap out on health, life, safety. You just can't do it. You just can't do it. And there are ways to find out whether I can skip out on some things or I can't. But bottom line, health, life, safety is number one for us.
Got it. That is very important, especially with the students and everything. After a little bit of research on you, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw that you have been vocal about developing skilled trade programs within high schools. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I am very, very interested in this, especially coming from a high school where I learned a lot of my computer skills. I took auto and was able to craft some, it's not exactly the trades that are required in the facilities world, but it's an example of that, expansion and the options. Can you talk a little bit about the value in that, how programs like that, in your view would work, and the options available to young people?
Absolutely. So I thought it would be very beneficial for me to turn my department into what I call an organic classroom. Every day we have issues, right? As you know, there are plumbing issues, there are roofing issues, there are electrical issues. They're just issues. We have hundreds of thousands of square feet that we have to oversee every day, right?
Yep.
So I thought, what would it be like if I can start my own in-house trades program? We have CTE pathways at my campus now, one of them, and it's a phenomenal program. But I thought about, what if we can give students an organic opportunity? So every time that there's an issue within my campus, I do my best to partner a vendor with a student that's interested in the construction trades. So, for example, if we're having an issue where we're having cold calls, or some part of the building is running warm or cold, when I bring in my HVAC vendor, I make sure that we at least reach out to students that are available that can kind of shadow them, or internship with them for that day or for that amount of time while they're troubleshooting. And within that, we've developed a program that's robust, and I love it, where we have students that that can work a BAS system, right? At 16 and 17 years old, that know how to go to the BAS, troubleshoot, find out where RTU was at, which dampener, et cetera. Like they know the language and the terminology. And this is free stuff because I have the issue already and I have the student there. So I thought that would be a phenomenal idea. And we do that all across MEP, HVAC, roofing. We even have students that are working with our water treatment specialists that are now looking to be chemists, right? And this is happening on a weekly basis. And over the summer, we have students that intern with us for up to 10 weeks. 1 day a week, I have vendors from all across the platform come on site to work directly with students and to train them and intern and have them intern with them on what they're actually doing. And that's a one of a lifetime opportunity because some of these students are 16, 17 years old. Yep. They're going to be graduating soon. And now they have an upper hand on the construction trades, and not just construction trades, but I pride ourselves on being the most, we have the most robots out of any K-12 school district in the country. And our students also work hand in hand with our cleaning robots. Every time I do something within our department, I make sure that our students are at the forefront, whether it be construction design or what we're doing. Students will always be at the forefront because I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to explore the construction trades. You and I both know that we're talking 600,000 plus jobs are going to be open in 2030, right? Construction trades. We're having a hard time finding the labor that we need because it's just that time in history where folks are retiring. So what I'm doing is not just saying, hey, it's on the teachers anymore to just, teach the student, but it's important that folks like me see the whole student and provide opportunities that I believe are just endless.
I love to hear that incubation system because not every high school, not every pathway, right? High school is supposed to get you to your next step, right? It's supposed to, kind of help you transition to adulthood. And a lot of colleges will only focus on, getting you into like a 4-year traditional college. So it's great to hear that you're educating and providing people with, a plethora of options, right? It's so important at that young age to help somebody know, like, these are your options and let's help you find what speaks to you early on. Right. That's just so impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it, and it's been a privilege and an honor because I've been able to travel across the country this whole year. I've got so many dates lined up where I'm just doing my best to get folks in my world to say, hey, what if you just do one internship program? Like, what if you just do one student? What if you just reach across and say, hey, I'm building a new gym. I would love to get one student in the design meeting, in the construction meeting. There's so many jobs that are within that space that we would help so many students, right? So I take it. I just love it because I've seen students that come to our program, their sophomore year, have no idea what they're thinking to intern with us 2 and 3 years, and now they're getting full rides to engineering schools. It's just something that I will never forget, and I'm just so passionate about it.
Gotcha. You mentioned something, and I want to go back to it a little bit. You mentioned robotics, and this is so interesting to me. You've implemented robotics and smart infrastructure inside schools. Like, what technology trends are you identifying, or that you can kind of speak to that are reshaping public education facilities over the next 5 or 10 years?
Well, so I would say, of course, you're looking at AI predictive softwares, right? That tell you, hey, this is the lifespan of stuff that you've got going on, right? So instead of being kind of like, reactive, you're almost predicting when to do these things, right? And at the same time, too, I'm a big proponent for cleaning robots. I mean, we have a field house that is 90,000 square feet. It runs 7 days a week, almost 24 hours a day. We don't have a lot of time to clean it. So we clean autonomously, right? We clean overnight, same way. We have bathroom cleaning robots. I have a turf tank that lines our baseball and softball fields. And these bots aren't here to replace our people. They're new teammates that help our people, right? As you and I both know, there's no shortage of work in facilities.
Yep.
So with the shortage of labor, and things just happen, people have to take off. We're all human, right?
Yep.
So these bots actually help us maintain a clean, safe, and accessible space all the time. So I know that's going to be happening. You've got some humanoid activity. I mean, you've got so many things that are changing and that will happen. So I can see, of course, AI predictive software being something that's already happening. Cleaning robots in general. I see drone technology when it comes to DFR, drone first responders, when it comes to cleaning windows, skyscrapers, you name it.
You mentioned AI, and that's obviously evolving, and we're part of what we do here is we're putting together a work order platform that utilizes artificial intelligence to kind of help you predict maintenance and things like that. A lot of people like to say that AI is going to replace facilities managers. I tend to kind of say on the side of it's going to be a teammate for you, right? It's going to be a point guard for you. You still got to score the ball. So how do you look at AI and integrating that within, facilities managers? And how do you think will it be additive as because people fear it's going to replace them?
You know what? I would say, to be frank, I believe AI will replace some people. It will replace some jobs, but it will create others, right? It will create other jobs. It will create other lanes. I would say that it's a tool, right? I don't ever think, and I could be wrong, but that face-to-face human communication is undefeated when it gets to getting certain things done. Of course, AI can help you with that, but I think there's just some things that the technology is not there yet. So I don't see it being a situation to where roles like ours or roles that that are similar will become obsolete.
I agree with you. There's times where we're speaking with someone and we mentioned there's like artificial intelligence integrated within our work order platform, and they get a bit reticent. And I'm like, there's never going to be a replacement for physically getting eyes on a completed project. There's never going to be that can never go away unless artificial intelligence is going to level up like tenfold.
Yeah, and that's fine. And if that happens, then hey, maybe that's too far for me.
At that point, we'll be living in Blade Runner, and it's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you on that one. It's purely additive, and I hope that it's something that people in our field are excited for.
Yeah. But like you, with the shortages and with, there's so many jobs that are open right now, right? Like I've got, I'm seeing robots that are doing roofing, robots that are doing framing homes, robots that are doing drywall. So things are happening, right? But there's no replacement for field verification from a human, right? But things are changing very fast. And I just want to be on the side of change. And I want to make sure that when my students leave, because they're going to inherit a world, right, that's AI driven, robotics driven, Alex. There's something we can do. It's just their time. So when they get out in their real world and they working alongside humanoids, I don't want them to be culture shocked.
Yep.
If I can do my part within my department and just say, hey guys, this is what is happening, to become familiar, because I'm not saying that they're going to be the next first to create the robots, right? But I do want them to be familiar. I want them to be able to work with them and work on them. All these robots are going to need technicians, right? They're going to need that. So I want to make sure that I'm using my department to be that launch pad for these students to even get in that real world, to say, hey, you know what? I was already mapping robots and working on robots in high school. I'm prepared for this.
Yeah, you're right. And we've seen these technology shifts at all these points, right? Coming into the 2000s, all of a sudden, internet, email, spread, we've had these all the time. And the people that were best equipped for them were the people that you mentioned previously were proactive, not reactive, helped grow with it. This way you can hit the ground running. And this way, again, it's your teammate. It's not a replacement. One other thing is you've stepped in a broader leadership role within the Association for Facilities Engineering.
Yes, sir.
How has that move shifted your perspective from like district level execution to now having a wider like industrial view, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I oversee 8 states and I'm new in the role and I'm excited about it. And just to look at, how the industry is changing, not just in the Midwest, but everywhere, right? And I have a lot of work to do with that, to see where I can first come in and kind of be a sponge, right? Find out, what we think we're doing well, some things that we can improve on it and kind of fit in there. But at the same time, I want to do this over time, right? I've learned to understand that things can happen over time. So I would go in, find out what's going on, find out what we can do, find out our issues, find out things that we're doing well and that we're not, and kind of go from there. But I'm super excited about it because my passion is workforce development. and my passion is to get folks to the next level within their facilities career. So I think this is a great opportunity for me.
Are there any trends that you're seeing nationally that maybe individuals may not recognize yet, or someone in your role or someone aspiring to your role? Any tips you can give them in terms of like what you're seeing big picture that can be incorporated, in these kind of smaller areas?
I would say the need for certifications, right? I would
Mm-hmm.
say that the need for diverse certifications at the same time too, there needs to be a big push for robotics training, AI training, right? How to use it, how to leverage it. And then at the same time too, I can see a lot of folks that are in our space doing multiple jobs for multiple different companies because the people aren't there, right? No one graduates from high school or in college and say, "Hey, I want to be a facilities director," right? Like it's just things that don't happen. I know my role. I want to be an athletic director. I want to build football stadiums and big arenas, etc. But that changed, right? So I think the biggest thing is kind of showing folks, especially the younger generation, what we all do, because we wear 50 different hats per day, right? I mean, every job we have is enough for one person, and we're only one person doing these jobs.
Yeah.
So I would like to explore and continue to broaden the landscape for the younger generation to say, hey, this is what you can do. There's 50 jobs here. All right. There's so much opportunity. There's so much that you can do. And it is lucrative, right? We don't want to shortchange the students and the younger generation to explain to them, hey, this is a lucrative opportunity and lucrative career that could change the trajectory of their lives, but also their families' lives.
Yeah. As we start wrapping up here, I wanted to give you a couple like rapid fire, points just to try to leave some takeaways for people that are kind of here with us during this lesson and again, aspire to be in the role that you have and have the experience you have. So if you had to distill your experience down into a framework, how should public education facilities leaders think about prioritizing capital under constraint?
Health, life, safety is number one.
Got it.
Sometimes we want to go for the cosmetic work, right? But I know all too well what it's like to do cosmetic work. But then at the same time, you have infrastructure issues, right? So now you're tearing up the cosmetic stuff to go back because you have infrastructure issues. So when you're doing construction, always, and I know things can get political, things can get, driven based off who's in charge, et cetera. But if you're at that table and you can say, hey, I want an infrastructure audit, right? I don't want to just redo the bathrooms. I want to make sure that the plumbing down line has been camera scoped and that we looked at that, right? And just you want to look at the insides, right? Some things, I mean, our infrastructure is aging. If you look at it, I think the schools rank like 2 or 3 with having the most buildings, right? Like behind like DOD and things like that. So schools, we have a lot of schools, right? A lot of places that have been around for a while. So if I could, just give some advice, it would be to work on health, life, safety. And if you're doing construction or doing renovations, you want to do an internal audit of your existing infrastructure.
Wow. Yeah. So that almost speaks to the next one I had, which was like integrating smart infrastructure responsibly, right? Yep. And it sounds like the audits and it sounds like the fiscal responsibility and it sounds like weighing of the priorities, right? Mm-hmm. What about, I think this is going to be the last one, and this sounds like something that you are very passionate about, building workforce pipelines.
Yes.
What would be your biggest piece of advice for that?
Wow. Turn your department into an organic classroom. Reach across the aisles to everyone. It may take time. People may be shocked, like, no, we can't have students do this. Do your due diligence, right? If you should not be in your role 10, 15, 20, 30 years if you've never had an internship program, right? And these are free things, right? You're not asking someone to come across to build this program out for you. If you're building something, get kids involved. If you're renovating something, get kids involved. And that's what I travel across the country, helping folks do that, right? Telling them how to get students involved. And at the same time, too, being intentional about it. You can guarantee, I've seen it myself where I've had students that have interned with me that had no idea that they were going to go to college and what they were going to college for. And they're in their second and third year of engineering school. Some are going to be architects. Some are going straight to the trades. I mean, it is so fulfilling to see that the work you put in really mattered, right, to a student. Because like my superintendent always tells me, he says, Elliot, we only had these kids for 4 years. And you and I both know how fast 4 years goes. And if we don't do our job within those 4 years, we could potentially be losing students that have to turn into adults. So I practice excellence every day in my department, and folks know that we put the students first. I want students involved in every single thing that we're doing. If it works out, if it's possible, we will do it, because one opportunity can get them involved in something that can change their lives and their families' lives.
This has been such a pleasure. A lot of these lessons have revolved around a lot of the internal operations side of things. You just have such a wealth of knowledge about what the future is going to look like with robotics, with AI, with building the workforce pipeline. I mean, these are the conversations that we're trying to have. For anyone that does want to reach out to Elliot regarding anything that he's mentioned, whether it's workforce, whether it's AI, anything that you want to get questions answered for, please reach out to him at evonextadvisors.com, evonextadvisors.com. We'll get that link in the LinkedIn post that we're going to do as well when this podcast goes live, if that's okay with you. We just want to, we want people to be able to take advantage of the wealth that you shared here of knowledge and kind of move forward with it.
Awesome.
Elliot, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. This was FacilitiesU 205, Capital Risk and Resilience in Public Facilities. Again, we enjoy having everyone on here every week, and we hope this was helpful. Take care of yourselves. Thank you, Elliot.
Thank you.